Hello and welcome to the E3 prediction video special. I am Ellipse3 of Ellipse3 Gaming and I bring to you my predictions for this week's E3. So this week it's E3 2012. It's leapt upon us like the survivor of the Pokemons. It's ready and it's eager, so what do I expect to see? First off, we will start with Microsoft, seeing as they are up first, and I will be doing this in order. First off is the rumour of the Xbox 720. I don't think it will probably be called that, to be honest, but if there is a new Xbox console, I would expect it possibly to be announced this year. I'd say this mainly because there has been some news announced from Peter Monaghan, who is basically been after employing somebody to work on a DirectX 11 title. Now, seeing as the current Xbox cannot run DirectX 11, it would be a prediction, and you could possibly say it's safe to assume that there will probably be a new Xbox either announced this year at E3, or very likely, or possibly, even next year, with a 2014 to 2015 expected release date on my predictions. This would be very feasible and seems very likely indeed. The Xbox is having a price drop very soon, so it makes sense that there is something up Microsoft's sleeve. Halo 4 is going to be shown off a bit more, where the Master Chief returns triumphantly. So what do I expect to see in this trailer? I would expect to see some more gameplay footage, maybe another teaser trailer, maybe some explanation on some of these new multiplayer features. Is the sprint ability actually an ability now? Is it something that comes with all characters? Is it now an active trait? Or is this just because you can customise it a bit more? I don't know. I want to find out more. I think we all want to find out a bit more. I'm not a huge Halo fan, but I do appreciate the multiplayer aspect of it greatly, and I will be looking into this a little bit more. Another great big franchise that has made sneaky peek images been released is Gears of War. Now, there's been an image released on Game Informer magazine, which seems to show the leading character in handcuffs, being led away by two guards. I presume this is due to what happened at the end of Gears of War 3. No spoilers. But basically, I would expect to possibly see some sort of trailer, video-y teaser possibly shown at this week's E3. But yes, Gears of War, a good franchise, a very good storyline, fantastic cinematography, and I want to hear some more about this. I would be very surprised if there is no details at all announced on this title. Dare say there'll be some more titles announced for the Kinect. I presume there won't be much details or any more info, or basically any more showing off of the Star Wars Kinect, which was atrocious. It's a good game, I'm not saying that, but dancing? Really? Han Solo? No, doesn't register, doesn't exist, game does not exist. So yes, I would expect some more Kinect titles, maybe even some hardware updates, because the Kinect camera is a little bit iffy, a little bit iffy. So yes, I would possibly expect to hear some news on Xbox integration with the Kinect alongside the Windows 8 that they're doing to the Windows for the PC side. I would hope that there's a bit more news on the PC gaming market from Microsoft, because they have been a little bit distant recently. Obviously, this is because I've been concentrating a little bit on the Xbox marketplace a lot, which is fine. But I think there's a definite resurgence in the PC gaming market. The PC gaming is on the rise, thanks to such fantastic distribution channels as Steam and good old games releasing old games that work on Windows 7 very, very well. Recommendation. Electronic Arts. Right, next on to Electronic Arts. Now there will probably be some iffy issues with EA, seeing after their BioWare release title of Mass Effect 3, the ending was... it was not the best that everyone was expecting, But anyway, I'd expect EA to announce possibly an update to the Mass Effect game. Whether it will actually be on stage, I do sincerely doubt it. It'll probably be within the show floor. I would also expect them to announce a lot more EA titles, mainly sports titles. There hasn't been a huge amount of EA sports games recently, and we are coming up to 2012 and 2013 seasons, so I would expect to see something like NBA 2013 kind of titles being announced. EA this year, I don't think are going to be having the best presentation. I don't think they've got a huge amount to reveal. I may be completely wrong. They have got SimCity, which looks amazingly fantastic. It looks basically like how SimCity should have been. It's basically SimCity 4 meets the original SimCity on a fantastic new engine. I would love to see some of that being shown. It's not a mainstream title though in EA's books by the least. It's never been as appealing as The Sims to people. But I would love to see some of that footage being shown off on during their presentation. And also, I really hope they kind of kill Origin. Origin, as a service, I can understand what they're trying to achieve. Trying to make more money upon their titles from themselves, which is fine. But you're never going to really compete with Steam, which offers fantastic prices as a better service. I've basically tried to use Origin to download myself Ellipse3 Uprising, don't ask why, basically, and it's good, but the amount of login issues I've had to even download this title has made it a service that is not viable in my opinion. It's much cheaper often to go to the physical shop and pick up a copy of these games, which personally I prefer. Ubisoft this year will have some great things to announce. There is a new Rayman title for the Wii U. I believe it's called Rayman Heroes. I'm not 100% sure if that's the exact title or if I've just completely cocked up on the name, but it looks quite interesting. So that's basically one game to show, but what excites me most is Assassin's Creed 3. Now, Assassin's Creed has been for the last few years a staple of the E3, often adorning the walls of the expo, and it's been a big title. So I expect to see, there's been some videos already shown of Assassin's Creed 3. There hasn't been much on the storyline or the big main bad guy, which has typically been the way that Ubisoft have promoted Assassin's Creed games in the past. So I would expect them to show off a new trailer or teaser during the presentation. I'd also hope that they release some more titles along those lines. I'd expect also another Dance Central kind of game to be announced. This is not really going to be a surprise to anybody, and fair players, it's a good game, people like it, no problem. Ubisoft, they're safe. Sony have a bad history when it comes to their presentations. With their infamous Ridge Racer incident a couple of years back, they have not been the best when it comes to presentations. Last year, however, I do believe they were one of the best presentations at the E3 with their Vita console announcement. Now, the actual release of the console hasn't gone exactly how Sony may have planned or wanted, but I hope personally, and I wish that there is some Vita titles announced of some merit. The console, I personally reviewed it and I've got one and I think it's a great console. It is lacking on its main titles. They are still predicted to come out very shortly. Without a release date though, it's making the console a hard viable option for a few people to buy. I would also hope that there would be some certain titles to return from the PSP to make their Vita remastered debut. There has been a bit of talk about the PS1 classics coming onto the Vita. Now, I can understand people wanting this, but I'd personally prefer it if Sony released more new titles onto the Vita, rather than half-arsed expansions to mainstream games, basically. That's the simplest way to put it. One being Resistance Burning Skies. Not a good game. Not in my books. And sadly to say, expect to be quite a bit of deal made over that during the speeches. Now the biggest rumour and speculation on a lot of people's faces this year is the possibility of a PlayStation 4 being announced. Now, there is some queries over this. There's been some rumours about this that do make some sense. Sony themselves have, up to this point, are denying a PS4 will be announced this year at E3, but then saying that they would deny this anyway, because that's just the way these industries work. They deny everything and then they announce it, and it seems, ooh. Basically, the codename rumoured to be Orbis for PlayStation 4, it makes some sense. Whether the PlayStation 4 would actually be announced this year, though, is, in my books, a little bit dubious. I say this only because all the mainstream console developers at the moment are making a loss in the last fiscal year. None of them are not what you'd call healthy. This economic climate is making it harder for people to want to buy new consoles, to want to buy expensive games, and with them all rumoured to basically try and kill the pre-owned market by implementing various DRM technologies, i.e. using the internet constantly, the rubbish about removing disk drives and all this gubbins, would basically cause these new consoles to not sell at all very well. People have natural resistance to this, and I would be one of them. The infrastructure in a lot of countries for the internet is not substantial enough to allow constant internet connection to be needed. We would not be able to play games, a lot of us wouldn't, if we had to have a constant internet connection. And the internet services on these various consoles are not always good. There's a lot of downtime at times, which would hinder us, and as gamers would affect us, and also as developers would put off a lot of games developers from wanting to develop games for these consoles when they can work around it by going to PC or other such services. When it comes to the basically, there's new speculations that Sony may have bought OnLive. It sounds feasible. It does sound feasible, but I would be very dubious over this, and I've not heard anything or read anything that confirms this to make sense. Now, logically it would work. The partnership between the two would work, but I doubt this has possibly happened. So this is, at the moment, and in my opinion, a load of bollocks. But this may be denounced. I may have to basically go back and eat my words after this week. But we will see. We will see. So the rumours that Microsoft and Sony will both be announcing a new console this year are rampant. I personally do not feel that this very moment we need a new console to be announced for either of these big companies. I don't personally see a need for a PS4, nor do I necessarily see a need for an Xbox immediately. The Xbox, I would say, would need a hardware update sooner, only because of the rise of Blu-ray and the amount of space discs now are requiring to release A-title games. But the PS3, don't see 100% sure why they need to abandon that quite yet. It's not. There's a lot of the game developers themselves have commented on this. Quite a few developers, such as the head of Bethesda, has said that he does not see a need or could not see a purpose at this present moment to basically release a brand new console, because they don't have to buy new engines and they would cost these big developers a lot more money. Can they afford necessarily to pay for these new engines when some of them are still paying off the current engines that they bought? It's quite dubious. I would like to say that I'm not saying that these consoles aren't being developed. I'm not saying at all that in the back of these labs somewhere there's a PS4 being made and there's also a new Xbox already working, etc, etc. But whether they will be announced this very moment, this very year, considering that Sony have just released the Vita and they would want to push that a lot first, would not make sense for them personally to announce a new console. It would make sense more for Microsoft too, though, because Microsoft have not recently announced any new consoles or releasing new consoles. As such, they would not be trying to push an existing product that's only recently come out harder. So whether there is a new console announced this year, I'm dubious. If it is announced, I wouldn't expect it to come out anytime soon. I would expect possibly late next year, Christmas time. I would not say anything this year to come out because we've got the Wii U, which is still yet to be properly dated or priced. But I would say, at the moment, on my personal perspective, I am dubious. I would love to see what they could do, but I'm scared at the same time that they could isolate and kill a lot of their gaming audience by doing such measures that some people have been proposing. So I am kind of on tiptoes over this. The Nintendo conference. Now, Nintendo are known for doing very interesting demonstrations. So I would expect there to be a lot of cosplaying, sword fighting, dubiousness. So I would expect there to be Mario titles, a lot of 3DS titles announced, and more importantly, details on the Wii U. Now, the Wii U as a price range has not yet been really announced or confirmed, so I'd expect that to be hinted at, or if not announced, at this year's E3. Based on what I can see technology wise, I would expect it to be a retail price of around the 200-300 mark, only because it is a step above the current Wii, and it would basically match around the halfway price between an Xbox and a PS3. I would presume it would anyway. It looks interesting. I am not necessarily been won round by the Wii U quite yet. I would have to physically get my hands on one to say whether or not I think it's a good console. I think it's an interesting move on Nintendo's part to return to the more hardcore market, because they have been perceived as doing party games for a while, but not to say that the Wii hasn't got some fantastic titles on it. But the Wii U, I don't know enough about. The new Smash Bros. Title for the Wii U will very likely be announced, and some video footage of that shown, because that sells fantastically and it's a good game. That's coming out on the 3DS and Wii U, and it would probably be a launch title, I would expect. I would hope and I would pray. In terms of 3DS announcements, there's basically, I would imagine there'd be some redos of some original Mario titles and some original Wii titles redone in 3D. Very likely to be the classic games, I'd imagine. Such as Mario Sunshine is I would expect to make a return on the Wii U. I believe it has been kind of dropped at a little bit as a hint that it is definitely coming out to the Wii U. If not the Wii U, I would expect it to come out on the 3DS as a ported version of it. But it looks very interesting. It was a very good game. As a fan on somebody who owns the original GameCube, I would like to see some of these original GameCubes redone and remastered, because the Wii is good, but the control mechanism for the Wii in itself, being the remote, is not ideal for those type of games. Now, I am aware that you can plug in GameCube controls into the Wii, as I have done so quite often. I don't always think this is the best way around to navigate through the operating system, seeing as you still have to use the Wii stick to even activate the game from the menu. So I would expect the Wii U to be an improvement over that, and I expect a lot from Nintendo. Nintendo, I think this year will possibly actually steal the show, I should say, out of all the presentations. I would hope that it would be Microsoft that steal the show, however. Microsoft, though, do concern me at the present by their recent updates and stuff to their various interfaces, and their move towards more media rather than games. I'm not saying that games aren't a media, more that they are moving towards social interactions and not concentrating so much on the actual gameplay aspect, which is what a gaming console should be expected to do. But yes, so I think this year's E3 will be not as good as last year's, personally. I'd be surprised if there's a lot of amazing announcements made. I would hope that there would be some really good titles that would shock me and surprise me and want me to spend money. But I think that this year very well may be the year for the PC market. I say this because we have such big titles as Guild Wars 2, we have Mists of Pandaria, and we also have lots of Steam updates. I would also hope that Valve during E3 will show off their Meet the Pyro video, because I've been waiting for that for so long. And also, for those people who are hoping to see a Half-Life 3 announcement, I would not expect to get your hopes up on that one, personally. I personally would rather see a Portal 3, but I am aware that that won't be for years, because you won't announce something so soon after Portal 2. But I would personally rather see a Portal 3 than a Half-Life 3. Now we shall move on to the other games of interest to be announced, and I expect to be announced at this year's E3. Now, my predictions are that the game of the show will possibly be Dishonored. The reason I say this is because there's been a lot of hype about it in the last few months. There's been a few trailers announced, a few screenshots released, and so far the impressions are very, very good. It's been compared to System Shock, which is nowhere in the least a bad comparison. System Shock was a good game and to this date remains as a time-changing, game-changing experience. Dishonored would be good, and I'll expect to see more gameplay footage, and I would like to see more details announced on this. It's made by Arcane Studios, with being published by Bethesda, which is not a bad partnership. I'm a little bit worried that Bethesda, I hope that Bethesda have not got involved too much. Not saying that Bethesda make games at all, because they make Skyrim and Elder Scrolls, which are brilliant, etc. But I would like to see Arcane Studios have full control over this Dishonored franchise, and I believe that to be the case. It looks fantastic, there's some fantastic footage. I will hopefully be talking about this a little bit more during the E3 week, when I will begin a rundown of any footage that will be shown of it, hopefully. And I expect it to be Game of the Show this year. Now, on a more child-friendly title, the new Skylanders Giants will be shown off a bit more, I believe, this year. This will not be during the presentations. It could be, I don't know. I have no idea, but it will probably. But the new Skylander Giants will basically be an expansion almost to the existing Spyro Skylanders title, and will be backwards compatible with the existing Skylanders figures. It will introduce a new setting, new figures, and etc. and other gubbins. I've not necessarily been a huge fan of the Skylanders game, only because the word Spyro was involved. If they did not use the word Spyro in the title and Spyro was not part of the game, I would be more tempted and be more happy with the franchise and the title to be released. It does worry me that the Spyro connection has been played upon too much, and there seems to be a bit of a cop-out in my opinion. But anyway, it looks quite a good game, and the Skylanders game has done well, and this is a transmedia game, so look into it. Basically, just look into it. More recent games to be announced includes Injustice Gods Among Us, which takes the DC Universe characters and makes them fight each other. This is being developed by the same people who developed the Mortal Kombat game last year. And it basically looks fantastic. This was only announced within the last couple of weeks, I believe, and it looks good. I will post some screenshots of it along the side here to show off. But basically it involves they're saying it will include a cast of around 22-ish characters, or basically they're saying it's about the same amount of characters that are in Mortal Kombat to begin with, if not more. Now, so far there's been about 6-7-ish characters been shown, but it does look like an interesting title. It looks very futuristic-y, and it looks a good game. I'd love to see some footage of this being shown off during E3, and I dare say it will be. But yeah, that's one of the games of this year to look out for. I don't think it will win any amazing awards at the E3, but it is quite a clever title. It looks good, and it's got DC. It's got Batman in it, for God's sake. It's got Batman in. It can't be bad, can it? Hitman Absolution. Some more footage of that will be shown off during E3. That's kind of to be expected. Hitman has been a game franchise that has disappeared for a little bit of time. I myself have never been a person who's actually played a Hitman game. I can see the appeal, so yeah, that's a game to look out for. For the Vita, we have Jet Set Radio making its return. Jet Set Radio has been a franchise that's been missing since the PS2 days. I think it was also on the GameCube, but I may be very incorrect about that. But yeah, Jet Set Radio is returning on the Vita. It looks quite interesting. I've not seen any screenshots of it. But yes, look into that. If you are a fan of the original Jet Set Radio games and you got a Vita, definitely buy it. That's all I can say on it. I would expect it to use a lot of the Vita control mechanisms, so I dare say you to do backflips, etc. You use the reverse pad, and to do such things such as grinds and tagging, I'd expect you to touch the screen at various points. But yeah, it may not be the same Jet Set Radio that you may have loved as a child or as a youngster, but as long as it's got good music in and it's a good game, it's probably worth picking up. Far Cry 3 will also be showing off a little bit more. There will be more trailers of that shown off, I very much expect. Basically, this year, there is not a huge amount of games. I believe it'll be new and a shocker that'll be announced. I think every game that's been announced this year is pretty much we all expect. I don't see any games that I personally don't think I'm already aware of being announced. I would like there to be some games that I wouldn't be shocked by. I dare say there'll be another Mario title being announced. There'll probably be another Sonic title announced. Basically all the mainstream characters I expect would have another game to announce for it. But basically being the way that Nintendo do things. But basically, as in terms of this year, I hope that it's a good week, and I will be aiming to report recap videos throughout the week. I am Ellipse3. I hope you subscribe to my channel. I am aiming to return to videos over the next few months, etc. And as I rebrand this channel. So this week I will be doing videos upon the 4 major presentations. I will be aiming to do a recap on games announced, maybe some trailer breakdowns, and possibly get some people in to do some deconstructions of some trailers. So I have been Ellipse3, I am signing off, and I am now going to go to bed. I hope you enjoy this week's E3, because I'll be watching it live, and good gaming.